Okay, we should be live now. I am so sorry. I don't know if you can see and hear us fine. Please say something in the comments section. Um, hello? I can see. Okay, we might need a new.
Anybody else there?
Okay, I do see. Okay. All right, so I think we're live now and we are going to actually um, go forward. I'm so sorry. Michelle, why don't you introduce yourself now?
Sure. I'm Michelle Wedderburn. I live in San Miguel de Allende. I've been living here for almost 4 years. My first visit to San Miguel was in 2005, actually, the same as Carolina. It was very different. It was very slow and just not as developed as it is at the moment. But I remember it being special and just Mexico in general. For me at that time, it was all a discovery. Yes, we moved here in 2018 after doing a research trip in 2017 and also just kind of trying to figure out where do we want to be, weighing our options on what part of Mexico would make sense. We weren't sure if we should be in Mexico City or should we go to Merida because that was kind of like an up and coming hotspot as well. And I just remember thinking like I liked San Miguel, so let's check it out. Hi, Robin. How are you? I see you in the chat. That's one of my clients. So in saying all of that, we decided San Miguel was the spot for us. What I loved about it were all the families and everything. So moving from Florida, we lived in Florida for 10 years. My son was born in Miami. So interesting enough, I actually met Carolina here in San Miguel, and she wasn't super far from where I lived in Florida, but we met because our kids were in the same grade at the same school. And it's just that kind of town, and it's very magical. I'm originally from Toronto, Canada, grew up in Connecticut, moved around the US a lot, quite a bit, and then I traveled quite a bit as well. And here I am, and I actually feel like this is home. It feels like home.
So, so amazing. So we are going to move here. For those of you who do not know where San Miguel de Allende is, it's actually in the mountains. It's about 6,300 feet above sea level. So it's quite up there. It's higher than Denver. So because of that, you get better weather, right? Cooler weather. It's not always hot like it is on the coasts. And you get less humidity. And I think that that's a big attraction for so many people as well. Would you say that's true?
Indeed.
I'm a little
It is
envious, actually.
completely true.
Um,
It is true.
Yeah, the
so,
weather's awesome. I think also it's just very comfortable. You get a lot of days out of the year that it's just not unbearable either way. It's not too cold, it's not too hot. It's just right there in the middle. And I think too, the city just offers a lot, but you can pretty much drive 15, 20 minutes in any direction and you're in the country with mountain views and it's just really calming. So I think that's one of the attractions as well.
so amazing. This is clearly a view of San Miguel. I see we have a lot of Floridians today from St. Pete
I
and Dania
see.
Beach. It's awesome. Oh, from the
Yay!
UAE,
That's
Kate.
good.
Wow, thanks for checking in. I guess it's probably evening time for you. Um, so this is just for you guys to see a little bit of what San Miguel looks like. Um, oops, bear with me as I go with my non-technical prowess. Um, okay. Here's, you get a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables there, which is, of course, all over Mexico. It is really amazing. I mean, the produce there is, you can't even compared to what you see in the United States. I mean, it just, and everything's so
Yeah.
flavorful because it's grown there and it's amazing.
And the state here, the state of Guanajuato, it's huge in agriculture, and we export a lot of what is produced in the state.
Ah, that is why you even get even better
Yeah.
produce. That's awesome. This is the famous cathedral that is in Centro, right? In the center square. That is very famous in San Miguel.
Correct. Correct is
Yes,
one of
Carolina,
the
you can get the full pronunciation on that. I always just say the parroquia, but you can give
is the
the street
parroquia
behind it.
of San Miguel Arcángel, which is San Michael's angel, and is a big protector, right? From he fights against the evil.
Well, with that bright pink, I mean, he's fighting all sorts of evil. It's amazing. I love it. It's just, and that's the thing about San Miguel de Allende, right? It's known for its colors. It's just such a colorful city, and it's preserved that way. It's also a UNESCO heritage site. That's right, right?
Correct. Correct.
And
Correct.
the
Yes.
architecture is just insane.
Yes.
And
I want to
Architecture,
say,
cobblestone streets, and beautiful weather throughout the year. These are key components, and that's what makes people fall in love with San Miguel. It's just that one visit, they plan to be here for a week and then just decide to stay. There's something about San Miguel, and that it's its magic.
it is magical. I love it here. I just feel very drawn to life in Mexico in general, but also very drawn to this city. I think the community is amazing. Just, you're welcome no matter where you're from. I think it's just like one big pot of happy soup. It's really cool. I just want to say real quickly hi to another client, Brenda. She just sent a message in the chat. Hi, Brenda.
and
How are you?
Paulina so I know Memp NW. I'm assuming that's Northwest from Washington State representing today. Oh, Western Massachusetts, Brad, nice to see you. And Ola from Texas. Wow, Atlanta. We got people from all over today. That is so amazing. Shay from Phoenix.
Awesome.
This is the beauty of technology, and I'm glad that it's actually working right now. So as we kind of get to, so as I'm just, for those of you who are just kind of tuning in right now, feel free to ask questions in the chat and we're going to get to them. We're going to be talking for about an hour or so. So go ahead and ask away about life in San Miguel. So my first question, which is probably on a lot of people's minds, is in terms of real estate. And what kind of properties do people normally get? Is it more kind of a condo town, or do people buy houses? So if you have like a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, what's kind of the price range and the difference between buying in San Miguel versus buying, like, say, in a Puerto Vallarta or a Playa del Carmen, where you're on the coast, where you have different restrictions?
Correct. Well, answering your question, I'm just going to build up a little bit on everything you have mentioned. Really, San Miguel offers this diversity of living in the heart of town, in the historic centro, where you can be in traditional neighborhoods that offer the lifestyle of living in Mexico. A lot of people that comes here, they want to experience that. That's one type of property that you can have. Or there are residential areas a little bit outside of the historic centro, where it is maybe more modern developed. And also there are gated communities. This trend started maybe 10 years ago, and due to the needs of people having amenities and having this comfort living. So it really depends on what people, the lifestyle that they want and their needs. I have many clients that they want to have this as their second or third home. And they want to be able to just leave, lock the door, and don't worry about the property. So maybe a residential area with a gated community, it suits their needs perfectly. And some other clients, they want to be here all year long, and they just want to go back maybe 2 months or a month to their place of origin, correct? So they feel comfortable with staying in a home in the historic center, right? Where many of these neighborhoods, what offer is that you can go outside your door, and in a block you can go to the bakery, to the fresh market. You can walk to the butcher. That is great to have all those things around, and it's walking distance because you are in Central, right? Let's keep in mind that we are 140,000 people living in this town. So it's still a very small place. And about 25,000, it is foreigners, which is a very, very nice mix of people. And the diversity and the richness that this town has to offer is due to that. Price
So,
range, right,
right.
Risa? That's what you said?
So yeah, so can you, is it possible to buy anything, say 250,000 US? Or is that really not
Absolutely,
possible
yes.
in some?
Absolutely, yes. For example, at my office in the agency where I am in a great team, for example, in the month of February, um, I want to say these numbers because this just happened. This is true information that is recent. In 11 agencies that are in registered and certified with certified agents, the price range that got sold in February was from $2.4 million to $115,000. So actually, I just got an accepted offer of this lovely family with kids, and they purchased a house that is 145,000.
A
Lovely home
house?
with 3 bedrooms. Uh huh.
A house for three with three bedrooms?
With 3 bedrooms, yes. And then, of course, remember that the closest that you are, I just want to make this clear, the closest that you are to the historic centro, of course, the price increases, correct? But you can be in a neighborhood like San Antonio or Guadalupe or Independencia, where you really have this charm of San Miguel, and you can buy a house from maybe 250 to 500,000.
Wow. So
And
Michelle,
then, of
you and
course, we go
oh,
to the luxury real estate, which is big, big, big here in town. And we cater clients that maybe buy properties all the way to $3 million.
wow. Yeah, I've seen some of those listings of it's like a villa. It's amazing. But it's interesting that there is a wide range, and so people with different budgets can come and find some sort of comfort there. Michelle, I know that
Absolutely.
you're renting with your family, right?
Yes.
So those of you, after this is over, if you have not watched my interview with Michelle, you have to do that on the YouTube channel. It's great, and she'll fill in a lot of the gaps probably that we're going to talk about here. But so you guys chose to rent. So can you tell me a little bit about your home
Sure.
and what you pay and what kind of community is it? Is that a gated community, or is it just kind of okay?
No,
And how many units?
it's a fully gated community. We just kind of happened upon it when we came in 2017. We hired someone to drive us around to the different neighborhoods in San Miguel, which, by the way, I offer that as well as one of the services now, because when we came, that was not readily available, and it's helpful. And I wanted to just kind of, before I answer the question, I wanted to touch on the fact that San Miguel is so small. So no matter where you end up, yes, you can pay $3 million, but you could pay $150,000, and you're only going to be probably 10 minutes away from Central. It's that small. Like I live on what would be considered outside of the Central area in La Lejona, which is, there's a La Lejona 1 and La Lejona 2, which is kind of just one thing across the street from the other. So in saying all of that, it's funny to me because people make it seem as if things are really far away. I can look out the window of my kitchen and I can see this church that we see here on the picture. So I just want you to have like a general idea of how far things are. So in saying that, we are in a fully gated community. We came to San Miguel looking for this kind of setup. It has amenities. There's swimming pools. There's a tennis court. It's very safe for my son to be outside with his friends and just kind of I don't have to worry about that. There's security, at least 3 on staff, 24/7. They do a full check with people to come in. It's just a very secure area, and we are in a 3 bedroom, 3 bathroom townhouse, 2 levels with balconies and views of the parroquia on the front end of the house, and on the back end of the house, there's a yard with a swimming pool that's like a common area, and we pay about 1,100 a month US dollars, and our utilities are pretty low in general, and those are paid every 2 months. So I think what I always tell my clients is, if you come with a budget, and I know Reason and I spoke about this, if you come with a budget of, let's say, I only want to spend $700, you have to take other things into consideration. And those other things would be, for example, if you said, my budget is only $700 for rent, right? But you're willing to pay, let's say, $60 for, water, or $60 for electricity. Those things aren't probably going to cost you as much. So if you see something you like that's a little bit higher, you probably can afford it because the other things cost you a lot less. So I just tell people that, like, all the time, because sometimes we get stuck with a number and what we're looking for, but you kind of have to understand that even with the rent ranges in San Miguel and the price and cost of houses in San Miguel, other things cost a lot less.
That's great. Um, so Sharon is asking, so you're looking to retire somewhere in Mexico, but for younger families who are not ready to retire but could benefit from more stress-free lifestyle, how would they make a transition like this?
Pack your bags and come on down.
Yeah. I
It's
mean, you
that.
got to just
No,
take the
I know
leap,
that's
right?
really easy, but no, honestly, a part of the reason why I chose San Miguel was because there were families here. My son's only 10. He just turned 10, and we came when he was 6. And, I looked at other expat kind of hubs in Mexico, for example, Lake Chapala. I looked at Mexico City because of the education system there. They have a lot of choices for international schools, bilingual schools, or even specialty schools. But I knew that it would not be as soft of a landing place as San Miguel. And I just, I came here and that was my vibe. I went to Mexico City and I went to other places, and the bigger reason why I chose San Miguel was because there were families here. And I don't know if you can really decipher that just looking at videos online, but that was important to me. And this particular community that we live in is just known for that. Like, all of the kids are just literally friends and they play outside. And, there are a lot of bilingual children, which I also didn't know and expect. And Carol can, speak to that as well. I mean, our kids met in school, and that's how she and I got to know each other a little bit better. But a lot of the kids have, one parent that might be American, another parent that's from Mexico, or not at all, but they all speak English. So it was very easy for us to integrate and be here. So I really think it's a great place if you have a family with young children, you want to move and you want less stress. This is definitely a good city to consider.
That's great. Do either one of you have pets?
Hmm. I
So
have a
I
is
pet.
there
don't.
a good vet that everybody goes to? And I'm assuming they must be bilingual. And what are some of the
Yes,
costs to take care of your pet, like an annual visit or that sort of thing?
Do you have a pet, Caro?
I don't.
Oh, okay. Then I'll answer. Yeah,
But
it's super
just
inexpensive.
like other services, the pricing here is very reasonable. Um,
Hmm.
it doesn't compare to the prices in the United States. And we have,
Mm-mm.
because I see and we have friends, most of the vets in here are bilingual and they cater a lot of the American community.
Yeah, the cost for a vet is just incredibly inexpensive, and it's still very good care. There are tons of veterinarians in San Miguel. I see signs all the time. People that I
Yeah.
haven't, visited. There's a Petco. You can still get the foods that you're used to getting. I bring my dog to Petco for his grooming, and when I did this in the U.S., I used Petco as well. It was on average 50 to 60 US dollars. Just, he's a medium sized pet, didn't get a cut, just a wash and a brush because he has lots of hair and just sheds all the time. But here it cost me, I brought him last week and it was $25 for the same service. The dog food is a little bit pricier if you want to have, like, the brands that you're used to. That I can say costs a little bit more. But for anything else, like if you're, for example, this is a great example. I have his teeth cleaned annually, and it costs me under 100 US dollars to do that. And I
Wow.
remember in the US wanting to get that done, and it was more closer to like 1,000
Yeah.
US dollars to get the
Yeah.
dog's teeth cleaned. That's ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Hmm.
But yeah, what about actual healthcare um, in terms of costs? What does it cost to go see a doctor in San Miguel? I'm assuming you do have doctors at pharmacies like there are in other cities in Mexico. And what is I don't know if you're familiar with the hospitals there.
Well, we have access to very good healthcare in here. In town, we have two fully equipped hospitals, and we have a good group of doctors and specialists. Now, we are very close to Querétaro, which is a very developed big city, and we have a spread area of really, really good doctors. Now, if you want to go to see a general doctor for a visit here in town, you pay out of pocket, and it's 300 to 400 pesos, which is $15 to $20. And if you're going to go see a specialist, it is 800 to 1,000, which is $40 to $50. And I'm talking of, I've experienced being at the doctor in the US and here. And in here, the doctors really give you 40 minutes to an hour. You see
Hmm.
the doctor explains things to you, takes care of you. And then in here, it's very common to build a relationship with the doctor where you can directly ask questions. You can send an email and they reply to you. So that gives you a lot of peace of mind and confidence, and and that you're being treated properly. I think it's a key also for people that decides to move here, the healthcare.
Yeah, for sure. And then in terms of health insurance, so if someone, I know there's expat insurance and then there's Mexican national insurance, and a lot of it is, if you're over 65, it's a lot more difficult to get. But if you are under 65 and you still have a family, it can be quite affordable. Michelle, we talked about that a little bit. Yeah.
We did. I can just tell you that no matter what it is, it's going to be way less than the US. And again, it all kind of varies on what your needs are, what your age bracket is. The same as the US, but the criteria are kind of the same as what we're used to, but the cost is way less. Like I was telling you, when we came the very first year, we were able to get insurance for our whole family for 1,600 US dollars for two adults and a child. And then our deductible was 1,000. So let's just call it 2,600. But that was for the entire year. It covered pretty much everything at almost 100%. And then, because of COVID and other things, it did go up quite a bit, but not where you couldn't afford it. Like if you are paying out of pocket in the US, it's still less. I would say most things here cost a third to sometimes 50% less than what you would pay in the United States. So you have to kind of, like for example, let's say you're in the US right now and you just want to know, because I want to move to Mexico, I need insurance. You can contact an agent. They'll tell you, here are the 5 companies that will provide you with a quote for what your needs are, what your age bracket is, what your health issues might be or not. They'll give you a quote for that. So it's not impossible to get insurance. And the actual doctors, as Carol said, that will service, help you feel better, get you your prescriptions or whatever, they are definitely up there, top notch, quality. I know folks that have gotten surgeries here, they had a great experience. There are hospitals here. As I said to you last week, Riza, my son had like a emergency. We had to go to Unimed, which is up the street, in the middle of the night. You know, he hit his head, and my out-of-pocket cost was under $75, and this was for an X-ray and the consultation. You know, so honestly, it just makes life, your quality is just higher. You know, yeah, there's really nothing to debate about that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's amazing how much stress that just relieves off of everybody. Because that's a
Hmm.
big issue, especially here in the US.
Hmm.
Lisa's asking about the high altitude and how it affects people with asthma and other breathing issues. Just so you know, I do a lot of traveling. I had asthma as a child, so I'm very sensitive to any kind of breathing issues. And I have a hard time when I'm in high altitudes. But it takes about, I would say it takes about 7 days to acclimate. And when I've been in like Bogota, for example, which is also very high up in the mountains, um, they have special teas. And I imagine Mexico probably has a very similar tea that people drink to help them acclimate. But it's not, it takes about a week. And if you're feeling like you're struggling, then yeah, it's definitely the altitude for sure. Um, is it true that even organic produce has to be washed in microdin solution? Yes.
It is true.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
and so you have very little mosquitoes because you're high up in altitude, Ruthie is asking.
That is
That's not
not true.
true.
We have plenty of mosquitoes.
Mexican mosquitoes don't mind the altitude.
Right. It
They
depends
truly
on where
don't.
you are. Like, for example, I'm here in El Secreto and we have less mosquitoes, but it depends on where you're located in the city. You know, like if you're close to the Presa, which is the lake, then you're going to have more mosquitoes. I can say that it's definitely not as buggy as a Puerto Vallarta, Merida, or somewhere tropical. For sure not. You know, we don't have those major challenges. Like, for example, I don't really have to give my dog all this medication for flea prevention and ticks and blah, blah, blah because of the, altitude or the elevation. But yeah, we have certain times of year where some things come out, but it's not outrageous. It's not anything
No, it is
crazier than
not. And that
maybe
is
like
that is
being in
something that I
Connecticut.
miss from Florida.
Exactly. It's
It's
not as
not
bad as
buggy
Florida.
here. Well
No
said,
way.
Michelle. It's not buggy.
Yeah, not buggy at all. It's buggy in Puerto Vallarta. Nothing against Puerto Vallarta, but yeah, it's super buggy there, like everywhere. Yeah,
Well, any tropical area, as soon
The
as you get
exactly.
humidity,
humidity,
that
yes.
they're there. Um, so Elton wants to know a little bit about schools or homeschooling programs. Can you guys talk about that at all?
Carolina.
Michelle, you can speak about homeschooling because I think you have more experience in that.
Hmm.
Um, on terms of schools, what is the question?
Just, I guess the
Oh
availability
yeah,
of
yeah.
schools. I guess you have K through 12 schools there, international
Hmm.
schools.
We have we have very good schools all the way from kindergarten to middle school.
Hmm.
And we have different types of schools that offer different types of services. For example, if you want to have a good education, we in here in Mexico is very common to attend private schools, and those offer a bilingual system. And in here in San Miguel, most of them are bilingual due to the diversity that we have. Michelle, when I met Michelle, we were in a school that when we joined, there were 19 nationalities, which is a great
Wow.
experience, and it's a great opportunity for our children. And we have some of them that offer different programs like Cambridge. Some of them offer different types of systems, from Montessori system, from Waldorf system, and it really depends on what feels better for you and what suits better for your kids. Because
Hmm.
um, now my son is in one school and my daughter's in another school. I have a 12-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old son, and there was a point of where they had different needs, and I could find a good place for them here in town. So that is great. And then Michelle also did a change for his son Micah. And Michelle, you're doing homeschooling, right?
Yes. So we tried on several things. We did the, international bilingual school when we first got here, and then we did another school that was also bilingual, but maybe a little bit more traditional Mexican. And when I say that, meaning it was still a private school, but it had more traditional Mexican aspects to it. That didn't really work. And then we went straight to free range, and this was first grade. So for me, it didn't matter. I think at that time, and depending on your kid's age or ages. I think for me, what was priority was for him to feel accepted and to learn Spanish. I wasn't really worried about the education part because I was like, no one remembers what they did in first grade anyway. So, you start building on what you want them to know and learn. And I can say honestly, when I got here, I learned to let a lot of those expectations go as well. And letting those expectations go, meaning I learned a lot more about what my other choices and what my other options were and what actually fit my child, as opposed to public school, being in a better neighborhood, the best zip code, and this is that's my only choice because I can't afford to pay for private school. And here, I can afford to pay for private school, or I could send them to public school, or I can get a teacher, or I can do it at home and get a tutor. So there are a lot more options. And so after COVID hit, and doing the online thing, I know that that wasn't working, and I was able to pretty much put his education together. I have a teacher for the English portion, I have a teacher for Spanish, and it is a lot more effort and, kind of coordination, but he's getting exactly what works for him and his style. I tried Montessori. I didn't try Waldorf. I did explore that when I did my school research trip in 2018. But there are lots of options here, and I've also met people in homeschool groups. I wouldn't say I'm an actual homeschooler, meaning physically in my home, but I do have a homeschool kind of setup, and it works for us. And I think that that's the beauty of being in even Mexico. I can't just say San Miguel, but Mexico, where you will always find someone who can kind of help you facilitate what you need, whether it's education or something else in your life.
That's great. So helpful. Um, so this
There
is
are
a
other
totally different
questions
question
about
about, is there,
schools.
I'm sorry?
Other
Ju-
questions about schools.
Uh, yeah, I just have a question here. Actually, this is around dogs. So are there a lot of street dogs, stray dogs, and are dogs allowed to roam around without leashes?
No. There are a lot of street dogs, yes. But there are also a lot of shelters. And there are good associations that are always rescuing and finding homes for these dogs. And no, dogs are not allowed to run around without leashes.
If they're owned, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I find that in a lot of, I don't, I mean, I've not been to San Miguel, but in other towns, when you see street dogs, they're mainly pretty domesticated. They're used to people, they're used to traffic. So it's not like they're not dangerous in my
Oh, no, no.
experience. They're just kind of roaming around and like they're like squirrels. You know what I
Correct.
mean? They're just that's where they live. They live on the street. So yes, in my experience though. What's the COVID status in San Miguel? Are you
I
guys
don't
still
know.
masked in restaurants, in
Yes,
supermarkets, that sort of thing? Or is
yeah.
it kind of
Oh,
all,
Well,
yes. About
the status, I
yes.
don't know numbers, but yes, you still have to wear your mask to go into the grocery store. It's required. They still do temperature checks to go in public places. When you sit at your table, obviously you could take your mask off. I would say probably 80% of the people on the street that are wearing their mask Are probably a lot of people who live here and locals because that's just been the nature of things. People didn't really balk against the system in this regard. I think people just kind of fell in line to these are the rules. This is what we need to do to protect ourselves, and they fell in line, and they're still doing that. So I can't say that anything has been lifted in this regard, but as far as numbers of COVID status, I really don't know. I don't think we ever had like a outrageous challenge with that. Maybe Carolina has a better answer to this. I didn't really follow it after a certain point. I kind of stopped following the input online.
Correct. I also did stop following, but the numbers were always low because the authorities really took action right away when this all started. So we were very sheltered, really, really sheltered. And all this was done in order to come out of it sooner. So really, the town is it's quite safe. We don't have much COVID cases anymore. Um, I'm very grateful because locals and people that visited were so respectful of everything that was asked for them to do from our authorities. So that really, really helped a lot, and that's why we are. I can say we're a safe place.
That's great. So Shay's asking, I don't know if you know about driving through Mexico, but she's trying to figure out what the easiest way to get there from Lake Chapala. I don't know if you have an opinion on that, if you do any kind of driving through Mexico, of what to avoid or maybe the best route to go.
I would say my number one, yes, I've driven to quite a few places in around Mexico. I've never had an issue, but that doesn't mean you don't take precautions. I would say my top advice would be just try not to drive in the dark and at night. It can be very dark in terms of just the street where you're going. If you get lost, the GPS is sometimes complicated to follow. It's not as concise as what we're used to in the US, where, the name on the sign is exactly what the person is saying on the GPS. It's always the opposite, or there I don't know if you experienced this, Carolina, but there are two exits at the same exits with the same name, and then she's reading the names, and you're like, split decision, do I take the first one or the second one? So it can be a little bit tricky, so I always recommend driving during the daylight. I haven't driven outside, like from San Miguel to the United States. I know a lot of people do that as well. But I have definitely driven like to places that are hours and hours away from here. And I've never had any issues. They do recommend maybe driving on toll roads, because you're going to have like, that as a point of reference if you have questions or whatever. Honestly, the highways are phenomenal. The views are to die for. Like, I am impressed every single time that I go somewhere. I am just really surprised at how beautiful the scenery is. And I've done quite a bit of driving in the last 4 years, whether it was a day trip away from San Miguel or a weekend or a week away. It's always been a really amazing experience for us.
Yeah. And to add to that, yeah, so I've heard that many times. So definitely take the toll roads, especially if you don't know where you're going, you're not very familiar. And if you're coming from the US or any other, let's just say the US, you want to make sure you have pesos on you because they will not accept US dollars at the toll booths because some people have tried that, of course. But so you want to make sure that you have enough change and enough pesos in order to accommodate those fees. So let's talk about safety a little bit, crime and safety. I don't know if you guys have statistics on that or just in general, how you feel about. I know it's a general concern in Mexico, but I think San Miguel de Allende is probably one of the safer cities for sure.
Yes, I have to, if I could say something about that. Yes, you're right. We are really sheltered in San Miguel, and it is wonderful. It is a place where we locals would love to go out during the week. We go out with our kids. We have pizza, ice cream, and you're walking around town maybe at 8, 9. And maybe on a weekend, if you go out with your friends and you have a cocktail, you can walk around in the middle of the night or 1 or 2 a.m. You can walk around town and it's perfectly fine and you feel safe. And um, there is a lot of security, meaning we have the police in the historic central in horses, and also we have police officers in bikes. And it's a good experience throughout. You feel safe in here. Michelle, I don't know if you can say something different, but I think that's also why a lot of people likes to be here.
I can say that that was also a concern for me before moving here, even though I had been in and out of Mexico like often. And different parts of Mexico. Like I've been in Oaxaca, I've been in Mexico City, I've been in the Yucatan. It's just different places, and I've never had a negative experience. I can tell you the general culture of the people in Mexico are very helpful, curious, kind. If you break down on the side of the road, it's more likely that they're going to help you as opposed to robbing you, as what we might feel and think coming from the U.S. I think that that's our feeling is that I'm in danger somehow. Does it mean that there's no violence here and no crime? Absolutely, it does not mean that. That it does happen as well. But living in San Miguel, I have not experienced anything negative, not a pocketbook stolen, nothing, broken into or robbed. But it does happen. I can definitely say that before moving here, we did a lot of research. I did a lot of looking online about San Miguel specifically, and the statistics for crime was very, very low. And I'm just going to be black and white. I feel that the highest type of crime that they had was petty theft, and that's because people sometimes steal things because they need to survive or eat or something like this. It's not really just a random thing that, you know what I'm trying to say? It's sort of like desperation, and I hate to say that, but I do
Correct.
believe that that's a lot of what happens for different reasons. Maybe when COVID hit, people lost their jobs, things like that do happen, but it's never really like a violent thing. And if it is, I have to also be black and white. It's a very targeted thing. Like if someone died, it was probably a very personal matter. I don't know that you've had too many, there have been too many people here that have suffered a violent experience from randomness. So that's all I'm going to say about it.
Um, okay, switching gears a little bit to transportation. Do you guys have cars, and is it necessary to have a car to really get around? Do you guys have Uber, taxis, buses? How do people move around the city?
We
Yeah, I
drive,
have a
right,
car.
Michelle?
Mhm. I have a car.
We
I don't
drive
think you
and
need a car, but I have a car because I want to go places in Mexico. And yeah, just, I want it to be easier. I don't want to, you can take an Uber, you can take a taxi. There are tons of those. You can take a bus, it's super inexpensive. Tons of buses that will take you anywhere you want to go in Mexico, whether it's local or, kind of like a Greyhound situation, which here it's called Etienne and Premier Plus, but, and very nice, actually, very comfortable and affordable. But yes, I have a car because I wanted to explore my surroundings.
and in my case, I have a car. Like I said, I have 2 children. I have a business and the real estate that I do. So I really need a car to move around. It facilitates things, and it really depends on your lifestyle. Many people really, really don't have a car, and they say, I'm so happy that I don't have a car, that I don't need it because it's so easy to move around here and it is affordable. So why even bother with the maintenance of a car and the gas expense? So it really depends on your lifestyle, but many, many people, they choose not to have a car.
Mhm.
And how's parking? Is parking just a nightmare in like the central area? But if you like, no?
I don't
Parking
think it's a
can get
nightmare.
very hectic on a busy weekend or in a holiday weekend, but it's just like the nature of things. It happens everywhere. But you have parking garages, and it's very reasonable. And if you live in a community like Michelle, of course, you have your designated parking space. Um, but I wouldn't say it's hard to park.
Um, so Michelle, Danita wants to know, and you can actually talk about Casa Elm a little bit now, but she wants to know if pets are okay.
Casa Elm, no, we are not accepting pets because it's a shared space, and you know, I have a pet, so it's not because I don't like dogs or animals. I love dogs, but it's a shared space, so no, I am not accepting pets. I don't have any control over what someone else's animal might do. So sorry, Danita.
So
You're
maybe you
welcome
want
to
to just
come
give
though.
like a kind of a brief explanation of what Casa Elm is.
Well, Casa Elm is a space for people to experience San Miguel. It's more personalized than just coming here on your own um, and renting Airbnb and trying to figure it out for yourself. I mean, I created it for various reasons, and that being, I from 2018 till now, I wanted to have a space for me to be able to bring women together to do women's retreats. That's sort of where it started. And in the interim, developing Afro expats, giving life from, the Black lens, it was really my opportunity to keep sharing, how it is for us here, because a lot of people had questions about, are we accepted? Are we received? Is there, any challenge about coming from the US as a person of color and living in Mexico? And I really wanted people to understand that, like, we love it here. We're treated kindly, and no, there are not those same types of challenges. So that's sort of where that started. And with all of those questions and people coming out of the woodworks, I realized that there was a need to educate people on Mexico, not just the Yucatan, but here we are in central Mexico. It's beautiful. We love it. And Mexico is a huge country, and there's a place for everyone. So, in saying all of that, Casa Elm was birthed in December of last year. And I realized, okay, instead of renting someone else's space for 1 week at a time for a group, get together, whether it's a retreat or a relocation tour, why don't I create a space that I can have people come to and experience what I experienced in Mexico for the last 4 years? And so Casa Elm is a soft landing. If you are interested in visiting Mexico, you can come to Casa Elm. You can stay for 1 week, you can stay for 1 month. And we like to provide the services that connect you to the community that we all love about San Miguel. It's very easy to get here and feel a part of this country and a part of San Miguel. You just need to be connected to anyone. And from there, it just starts to grow so many roots. And I feel that Casa Elm facilitates that. It allows you to bond with the people that are already in the house, go out and do things with them, share these experiences, make new friends, and learn about San Miguel through my lens, through Carolina's lens, because I refer her a lot to people who are interested in buying or renting real estate. We all have in common friends, right? We know a lot of the same people. It's a small town, and it allows you to
Yes.
get here and not feel like a fish out of water. So that's really what the space is about. It's to welcome you to this soft landing and this amazing paradise that we live in. And I call it a paradise because literally, like, it feels like there's a bubble over us. Literally.
I think there might
I
be.
love it here. Yeah.
And if anybody wants to see what Casa Elm looks like, you can go to the Modern Aging YouTube channel, and you can check out my interview with Michelle that we just did, that was posted on Thursday. Um, so let me see. So what would be do you guys have an average yearly cost of living estimate for a couple? I mean, I guess excluding rent and mortgage. Um, I guess you can spend as little or as much as you want, but
Yeah.
um, can you?
I don't know, Carol. I feel like that's super subjective. Because there's so many, like, if you like shopping, you can go broke here. If you like to eat out, you can go broke here. If you want to go, what I'm trying to say? Like, it's not limited in this regard. For example, maybe if I lived in like a smaller city, town in the mountains, and it's like, okay, I only have access to these little shops and stores, no high-end grocery stores or what, what I'm trying to say? Like, then I would say, okay, this is what it cost me. But it all depends on the person. Like here you can have almost everything at your finger. You want to drive a Mercedes, you can go get one of those. You want to drive a Porsche,
Shh,
you
shh.
can go and get one of those.
Sorry.
If you want to,
Come here. Shh, shh,
that's
shh.
right. If you want to eat lobster, you can get that. But if you want a 20 peso taco, you can go get that as well. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So I don't, I just feel like it all depends on the person, like
Yeah.
in San Miguel.
Yes,
Like
it all depends on your
you can live
lifestyle
in a
and
million
what you like.
dollar house, or you can live in a $50,000 house that you built because you bought some land somewhere outside, and you decided my budget's $20,000 and I'm going to build a $20,000 house, and I don't care what it looks like, and this is what I want, and this is what I can afford. So I feel like there's just a huge range, but I don't want people to think that they cannot afford to live in San Miguel, because I do think there are plenty of very affordable places, even though it is a city on average that costs more than a lot of other non-expat type non-expat type cities in Mexico. I don't know,
Like,
Carolina, if you want to chime
for
in.
example, what I could say, this place is very attractive for people to retire because what they have set for retirement and what they could do with it in their place of origin. In here, they can do it 3 times, or you can make it last way longer. Um, Services are very affordable. Utilities are very affordable. Remember that San Miguel is still a small town, and it doesn't lose that charm, and it does offer also all the high-end amenities. And if you just want to stick to those, of course, no retirement is gonna last, right? But it is really really reasonable to live here. I have friends that come from outside, but they come as tourists, right? Here in Mexico, and when they come here, they say, Carolina, but it's super expensive to live there. How can you do that? And I'm like, because I leave the city. I don't come here for a weekend, so I don't go to um, the popular restaurant that is on social media. I don't go to the I don't know, the attraction, the pool that is in that everyone goes there, and you pay $90 just to have access to the pool. I understand these things are here, and it's great because it's great for the economy. But when you live here in town, the cost of living is really, really affordable. Really, really affordable. Um, when I moved coming from Florida, um, we had a monthly expense over there, and in here it's a third of what we used to live there. It came down to a third, and keeping the same lifestyle with 2 children in private schools and having a car, all those things without changing anything, and it just third. It was just a third of what we spent there
That's
monthly.
crazy. My God.
I wanted to also comment on, just as an example, because I know people are curious. For example, I have a Honda. It's not brand new. It's a 2007, but it was in great shape when I got it. It had 60,000 US miles on it. Had barely been driven because, we're in a small town, and the previous owner had not driven it a lot, but I still wanted to get full coverage on my vehicle. And I just renewed my insurance maybe 1 week ago. And the deductible, I believe, is either 500 or 1,000 US dollars for the year. But my premium for the year was $287 for the entire year. And I'm not talking per month. I just renewed it for the whole year. So I just want people to get an understanding of, yes, you can probably put a little bit more into the roof over your head if that's your style and that's your thing. because other things cost a lot less. You know, our water bills are about $20, maybe $25 a month. The utilities are no more than 30, 40 bucks maybe a month. And we're billed 6 times a year for each of those things. You can get cable and internet and all these other things on a bundle for a very affordable price. My cell phone cost me 300 US dollars, more or less, for a whole year of unlimited blah blah blah, you know. So it's one of those things where, you know, you are not paying a lot for the basic services, and those things have nothing to do with San Miguel. It's just this is what it costs probably throughout Mexico in general.
Right. It's just, it's so hard. It's really hard to wrap your head around it for people who are so, embedded in the American or Canadian lifestyle sometimes that, especially I live in New York City. It's just insane to me when I hear how affordable things can actually be. And it's great. And that's part of why I want to just spread the news and share this information with people. So tell me about a little bit. So I'm assuming there are high schools in San Miguel. And do you have kind of a cost range of what private schools, cost for, let's say, for a year?
Caro, we
Oh,
can't hear you.
can't hear you now, all of a sudden.
Muted myself. Sorry. In my experience with my two kids, the monthly tuition for one of them is $200, and for the other, for my son, is $350. The monthly
$350
tuition.
a year?
Monthly.
A monthly.
It's a private school. I mean, I come from Florida. Rates were $800 and $900 monthly. So in here's 200 and 300.
Yeah.
And there's a range of high schools there, or is there just one high school in San Miguel?
Well, there is one high
I
school. So someone
I don't
posted
know.
San
You
Miguel
probably would know
in the
that
chat,
answer.
and that high school in here offers good programs, and many people stay there. It is only if you want to have a better option, you can go to the town that is here, that is Querétaro, that is 30 minutes from here, and you have access to better, with higher education. It's just 30 minutes from here, and a lot of kids do that. They go back and forth daily.
That's great. Is there Uber? Yes, there is, right? So I heard it may be difficult to get a 6-month visa now. What I have heard about this visa situation, because everybody's talking about it, is when you go and you enter the country is to ask for the 6-month visa if you would like to. Yes, they are pulling back on it. So if you're saying that you're just there for a week, they're going to give you a week-long visa. They're not going to give you this automatic 6 months anymore. But if you are planning to stay there long term, all you'd have to do is ask, apparently. Did we talk about retirement visa yet? Mexico, as far as I know, do not have a specific retirement visa like they do in Panama, but they have like permanent residency visas. And then there are benefits that foreigners do get if you're over 65. Is that right?
I
I don't know if you
don't
guys can talk
know.
about that, but
I don't know much about it. I did at one point hear that like there's a, you know, kind of like in Panama and Costa Rica, there's like a card where you can go to certain places and get like a senior, just like in the US, you get a senior discount maybe at a restaurant or on maybe certain medications or products that, you know, someone over 60 or 65 might need. But I don't know much about that. I don't know if you know anything about that, Carolina.
For when you have your not temporary but your permanent residency, and you are over 65, you have these just like locals in here, you have these special discounts in some services or in some products, just like in the US, exactly the same. If you pay on time, you get a 10% off, or maybe in a store, you know, for the people that has this 65 plus, they get a discount on these type of groceries, or you get a discount at the hospitals for general checkups. It's just like in the US, in a certain places, certain services, you get those discounts. Even to take public transportation, it is cheaper. And in some other services, it is just like that for everyone over 65.
Right, exactly. Um, so we're going to start to wrap things up. If people want to ask some questions, I'm going to go through. If people want to get information, want to contact Carlina about looking for a home, or, you want to rent out the retreat house, Casa Elm with Michelle, all you have to do is email me at hello@thisismodernaging.com, and then I'll put you in touch with them. But yeah, so it's hello@thisismodernaging.com. Okay. So best time of year to explore San Miguel. Any thoughts?
I
Fall.
think almost
September,
all.
October, and November are magical for me.
Yeah, I mean, temperature wise, it's definitely cooler, not winter like ice and snow or anything like that, but it can be, a little cooler in December, January at night and early in the morning, but it always warms up to about 65, 70 degrees Fahrenheit almost every day. It just warms up. We start out with maybe a 50-degree morning, and then it'll be 85 or 80 degrees by 12 or 1 o'clock. So I think it all kind of depends on, what you like. If you want heat, then April and May are our summer months. And I would say December and January are the winter months. But in general, there's a lot to do here. There are a lot of attractions. Like yesterday morning, I looked outside and there were 6 hot air balloon rides up at around 7 in the morning. Just amazing. You have the cityscape and you get to see this every day. It's just really a beautiful place to explore. There's nature, there's cool restaurants with rooftop views, and just a lot of amenities and things that you can explore, vineyards, vineyard routes, and then there are a lot of one-day trip away places to go to and see. And like I always say, it's definitely a soft landing. You won't have such a challenge trying to get around because a lot of people can communicate with you, and I think that that's key.
But you should still learn Spanish anyway.
You should
All
learn
right.
Spanish, especially if you intend to live here. I think it's important to continue supporting the local culture and also respecting that this is, a Mexican country with Spanish speakers, and their culture and traditions are deep rooted. And I think that it's also very interesting for us to learn about something new and be able to understand it and not just look at pictures. You know what I'm saying? Like that's always been important to me. And if you do come here and you decide to live here, try to use people locally to help you with whatever it is. There's always going to be someone that can aid whatever it is you're looking for. And more than likely, they'll appreciate it and they can use this kind of support.
Yeah, and I would say that the expat community is quite tight, and every community in Mexico, the foreign community, they all have their Facebook groups and stuff, and I see the exchanges going on, and people always refer people, and people are happy to make recommendations whenever possible, and that's how it works anywhere in the world, right? Um, So, since they're making residency more challenging, if somebody is considering moving there, should they go ahead and apply for residency? If you're looking to really move there long term, yes. Actually, getting your temporary residency or your permanent residency is not more difficult. It's just the tourist residency, the tourist visa, that they're a little bit clamping down on because people are going there and staying there, and people are taking advantage of that system. So, that's why that's happening. But if you're looking to apply temporarily or a permanent residency, yes, you can go ahead and start that process because it is like even Michelle, you only have temporary residency, right? And it takes
Correct.
five
At the
years before
moment.
you can apply for permanent.
4. It's actually 4 years. And I wanted to say this too, because I learned this recently from someone locally that's, well known to assist with immigration just helping you apply for temporary or permanent, your permanente. I thought that you have to be kind of ready to move to Mexico. And from what I learned during this presentation that we had during our relocation tour was you can apply now while you have your salary, your income, if you're working a job. Apparently, you can apply now. Now, don't, mark that in stone, but that was what this person shared with my group. And I thought it was one of those situations where it's like you apply when you're ready to actually make the physical move. But if you're earning a salary at the moment, a check, that's what they want to see, I guess, is that you can become, financially stable to take care of your own things so that you're not a burden to the economy in Mexico or you're not taking jobs away from local people somehow. So that's one thing. And the other part of that is that they are cracking down, but if you are interested, do it as soon as possible because every year the qualification and the amount that you have to earn keeps increasing and it's pretty high. It's almost, I don't know if Carolina knows this, but the last I heard it was like a 2,700 US dollars that each person has to make in the household. So there needs to be enough for, I need to have 2,700. My husband needs to make 2,700. And then I need to have a certain number for my dependent. That's kind of high because you don't need that much to live in Mexico, but they base it on their minimum salary per hour or whatever they make per hour times two or times three. So every time that goes up, the requirement goes up as well. So, if you're interested in coming here in the next year or two, I say apply because each year those numbers increase. When we first started looking at it, it was somewhere around 1,400 US dollars a month per person. And now it's gone up quite a bit.
Yeah. Another little hack that I've been made aware of also, if you're looking to move to Mexico permanently, yes, you can apply to the Mexican consulate in the United States or in Canada. In the US, I know it depends by state, but if you have I think it's about $120,000 liquid, US liquid, you can actually fast track and actually get permanent residency and not have to get temporary residency. So that number depends, varies depending on what state you're from, but that's something to look up depending on where you are. And you can just, call up the consulate, the Mexican consulate there.
Right.
So I'm just going to wrap this up pretty quickly. So is it true if you move when you're 65 or older, you won't get health care? You do get health care. Health insurance is a lot more difficult to get when you're over 65 in Mexico, and that's the Mexican national insurance. There are types of insurance that you can get. It's just much more expensive. And that's why actually, if you're interested in this issue of healthcare, next week we're focusing on Puerto Vallarta, and the couple that I have there, they're older. They're both in their late 60s, 70s, and so they've actually had to have surgery done. He had knee surgery done in the last few months, and he opted to do it in Mexico versus going back to the United States and getting it done. And so we'll for sure talk about that and insurance costs for them. So you're more than welcome to visit us next week at 1:00, same thing. Okay, so as we're wrapping this up, I just wanted to let you know. So right now, for many of you, either you're still thinking about it, you're still in the research stage, or you're ready to start planning your move. Either way, we have programs that may address some of and help you kind of along your path. We had to revise these dates. They were originally in April. For anybody who may have heard of our webinar dates, we have a free live webinar that we're going to be talking about how to purchase real estate in Mexico, and then also healthcare options for foreigners. And so those dates are May 15th, the 18th, and the 19th. You see on your screen there the times, and then you just need to register at dreamretirementinmexico.com/webinar if you're interested in attending those. They are free. And my partner in this, Tanya Chemsian, and then healthcare consultant Pamela Thompson is going to be joining us. And then if you're kind of more serious and you're ready to kind of make the next move, then I invite you to check out Dream Retirement in Mexico, which is our online program. You get $100 off by being here. The code is YT100, and that's only till the end of the month, March 31st. And here we have created a kind of a one-stop shop, a comprehensive program where you can find out how to buy real estate property, depending on what part of Mexico. You get to take a look at an actual agreement beforehand to see what that's like. We interviewed accountants and bankers and healthcare consultants, doctors, vets, pretty much everything that you need in order to feel confident and ready to make this really big decision. And that was our whole point, because we had so many people asking so many different questions. And so this is kind of a nice package for you that you can always refer back to, months down the line. And of course, there's contact resource list there so that you have people to call. You can always contact us as well if you're in need of health insurance, or you're in need of an attorney, or you're in need of whatever, banker. That's dreamretirementinmexico.com. So as we wrap this up, I don't know, Carolina, Michelle, thank you so much. If you have any kind of, final advice for people who are really, serious about making this move to San Miguel, what do you recommend for people who've kind of paved the path for them?
Come to San
Go ahead,
Miguel,
Carolina.
check it out by yourself, and see really what it has to offer. It is a very welcoming town with a wonderful, wonderful community. It is going to offer you so much. And once you visit, like I said, and you're planning to be here for a week or a month, you're going to decide to stay for good.
Yes, I would say, well, first I want to say hi and thanks to all of my clients that actually popped on. Hi, Dixie. That's like one of my number one loyal fans. She's a client as well, coming in April to finally get to meet in person. Thank you all for all your support. Thank you, Riza, for having us on and sharing this beautiful place that we live in. I always tell people, if you're not sure where you want to be in Mexico, if you're not sure about San Miguel, just, come and visit. I think that that's always my first advice, is to do, a couple weeks in this amazing city, try to get connected with people who live there, join expat communities on Facebook. That's a great resource. I know some people don't want to be on social media, but even if you just get on to join those expat groups that are in that place or city that you're interested in. And I say travel around. You don't have to stay in one place the entire time. You can come here, you can go to Lake Chapala, you can go to Mexico City, you can go to Merida, you can go to Tulum, the beach, you can go to Puerto Vallarta, wherever. Try it on. If you're not sure, move around a little bit. You can, if you have that kind of time, you can find a place to stay for 1 week or 1 month and see, does this fit or suit me? Don't be afraid to explore Mexico. Contrary to what we've, maybe thought about it, it's a beautiful country, and the people are absolutely welcoming and amazing. And I think that it's easy to connect once you make that effort and you open yourself to the experience. And of course, we want to see you in San Miguel. San Miguel, for me, is just a paradise. It's an amazing place to be. But if it's not for you, there's somewhere in Mexico that could be for you. So try it on, give it a shot, and be open to the experience.
Well, if you're here, you're definitely have already taken the first step towards it. So it's amazing. If you do want to get in touch with Carolina and Michelle, like I mentioned, feel free to email me, hello@thisismodernaging.com. And if you have any other questions, you're more than welcome to email me. Thank you so much, everybody. This has been really fun. Thank you for bearing with us with the technical glitches and my dogs barking and all this kind of stuff, such as live streaming. So have a great rest of your weekend, everybody, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Risa. Thank you much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.